Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Situation Room. My name is Akash Persaud. I am on Guybai TV, and I'm a media operator. And it's a special good afternoon to everybody here, all my Guyanese brothers and sisters, wherever you are across the world. In recent times, I've had many calls. I've had many people asking me one specific question, and that is, um, should we be worried about Venezuela? And I said to a number of persons, no, we should not be worried. And when I said that you should not be worried, did I really know why we should not be worried? Or should we be worried? Because what is at stake is the livelihoods of all Guyanese, our country. And do we as Guyanese need to be worried? There's a short answer to this question. Simply, whenever there is a possibility of an armed conflict, yes, everyone must have a sense of worry. Um, before I go on forward, I want to say that last week when I was in the planning stages of doing this broadcast, um, started doing some research and so on, and I actually was very pleased to see. I released the poster that on Friday night that I was going to be doing this day or two, and I released the poster, um, and I did not even realize that the president was going to do a press conference yesterday. And I think it was very timely. The president just came back from Saudi Arabia. And it was very timely of him to address his people. Now, I will say from the get-go that if you as a nation, if you as a people needed an assurance that we are okay, then the president of Guyana, Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, during his press conference yesterday afternoon to the nation, really did give some assurances. But again, the question is always, he didn't come out plain and say, this is what is happening. So how are we to believe this? And it sort of aligns with what I was hoping to do using investigative journalism. And also considering that in journalism, there are some ethical guidelines in which one must consider when he or she is presenting something, as a matter of fact, anything to the public, especially so when it's something of the nature that can change the thinking of people. So we have to be very careful when we do that. And I can say that I have to listen to the president's press conference yesterday. He did the press conference he was oozing of confidence, and he had a certain swagger to him, the way he sat and the way he spoke to the reporters who were asking him questions. And there must be a reason why the president seems so confident, but do we really know if that is so? And let me start by saying that today what I'll be presenting to you is my personal analysis of the situation, and in no way represents any institution or government. Now, the reason I made reference to President Ali's press conference yesterday, it was not only timely, as I said, it was needed, but it sends a strong message also. And I think all Guyanese should listen to the president's press conference yesterday that he held. You should. And out of respect for the president of this country, I want to make mention that that his press conference is one that is reassuring. And I thank the President. Now, we're not going to go back in history to debate whether Venezuela has a legitimate claim or not to the Essequibo. The Essequibo region, or whether Essequibo belongs to Guyana. We're going to start from the current situation where the Maduro government of Venezuela is going to hold a referendum on the 3rd of December with its people to get the support of the people to officially take any measures necessary to take Essequibo region from Guyana. That is what this referendum is basically created for. Now, we all know that this referendum will pass. They will get the support of the people one way or another. You can rest assured of that. So, what will happen after the 3rd of December? And here is where my analysis starts. There are some actions by the Maduro government can take after the referendum. And today I will discuss 3 of these actions. The first action is they can go to the International Court and demand the return of Essequibo region to Venezuela. 2, give Guyana a specific period of time to turn over the Essequibo region. And 3, a military invasion of Guyana. Let's look at option 1. This will put Venezuela exactly where they are right now. Nothing will change. They're any court already. Option 2, Guyana will not cooperate with any demands for option 2. And we will refer the situation back to the international courts. Hence, same thing, same place. Now, option 3, a military invasion. Now, this option has been the worries of most Guyanese, and it's a realistic. And is it really a realistic option for Venezuela? That is a question we must ask, and perhaps I will attempt to answer in this broadcast here in the Situation Room. So, since that is at the top, the military invasion, perhaps looking at option 3, a full-scale military invasion of the Essequibo region by Venezuela. Let's look at that. Now, before we talk about the military action by Venezuela, we must take a step back. Just don't look at the size of the 2 military forces and make judgment. Venezuela, they are far superior. And you know what? Instead of us bashing our men in uniform and soldiers, we should understand what they're faced with. And let me tell you what they're faced with. Let me tell you what they're faced with. They're faced with about 515,000 military personnel that is in the Venezuelan armed forces. They're faced with frontline troops of about 130,000. On land, Venezuela has 696 combat tanks, 700 armored fighting vehicles, 50 naval assets. They have 3 frigates, 4 corvettes, 2 submarines, and 280 aircrafts, including 42 fighter jets. So don't let me go down the line. Don't let me go down the line with military. It's not a debate, if you ask. I'm sure but here's the thing. I'm sure everyone of us has heard this saying, don't throw rocks if you live in a glass house. And here's where it gets very interesting. We have real questions about the Maduro government's objectives. And we must try to determine the objectives of the Maduro government before we can forecast what they'll be willing to do and at what risk for them, or what is the gain. And also, who else is involved in these objectives? Now again, let me remind you that this is my opinion only. You'll make your own after I share my thoughts with you and my analysis. And I will also use the platform while I'm here to make reference to sources that are credible, sources that should indicate, that should act as indicators as to whether or not we should be worried. And this is where I want to take this conversation this afternoon. So let's talk Maduro government and Venezuela's current situation. They're currently sanctioned by the US and the international community through oil boycott. This means Venezuela cannot sell oil internationally as it pleases. That is why this once rich nation is now suffering. I've had to make a lot of notes during the research in all of this. So from time to time, permit me to make reference to the facts at hand and also to pause and give myself a chance to get that fact for you. So the current position of the USA on Venezuela government is as follows. Venezuela's relationship with America has deteriorated to such an extent that the administration is prepared to add Venezuela to the US list of state sponsors of terrorism, and I hope I'm right. Republicans have accused Venezuela of having ties to terrorist organizations, but experts have played down the threat of those conditions. To make it simple, without going too deep, the United States have wanted to get rid of the Chavez-Maduro government, even though the American government will claim that they are not into business of building foreign countries and governments. In the event that the USA has declared Venezuela a state sponsor of terrorism, then the USA has the grounds to stop what they will call aggression from a terrorist country. Most importantly, since the past government of Chavez and now Maduro have aligned themselves with Russia, they themselves have put themselves on the American government radar. The USA cannot and will not tolerate any nation close to its boundaries to have any strong ties with Russia. Now, I don't speak for any institution, I don't speak for any government, I don't speak for no one. This is my personal analysis as a journalist, and this is my personal opinion. Let's make it simple, and this is very important. America does not want any nation south of them or close north of them to be friends and partners with Russia. Venezuela itself, due to the sanctions from America and in support of the international community, has a oil boycott that limits them from selling oil, and hence their economy and people are suffering greatly. So even though Venezuela has one of the largest oil reserves in the world, they cannot sell oil. Venezuela has long depended on their oil revenues for their survival. There has been many attempts to overthrow the Maduro government from inside, but this has failed. These attempts may have been sponsored by governments from the outside, who knows? But what is known is that a percentage of people in Venezuela is unhappy with their government. The Maduro government has even jailed some people that came up from within. Now, I'm not trying to get too deep, but what I have started is enough for us to move forward with my analysis based on these things that I just mentioned. Looking not just from within where we are, but let's not have a look outside. Let's have a look at what's happening in their camp. And are they really a threat, or will they really be a threat to us? We the Guyanese people. We need to know. And let's talk about Guyana's current situation. Guyana has found this new wealth, oil. We're a small nation with a small military force. But in the last years, Guyana has aligned itself as a democratic state and has become more friends with America. And I'm sure about that. It's in the news. We see the people coming here and we see who are visiting us and the Americans who have shown interest in Guyana. That's a fact. And I will say right off the bat, Exxon Corporation, a 500 billion valuation American company, has massive investments in Guyana. Now, I want to go quickly to a live analysis that I have on my computer of where the market is as it relates to ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil, as of October 30th, 2020, was trading at $32.62 on the stock market. Today, Exxon is trading at $104.96. That's their trading. Look at where they were, 32 in October of 2020, and look at where they are now. This will have basis on what I'm about to present to you. So, even though America has oil in their borders, it depends on foreign oil, mostly because it limits its risk of environmental hazards due to fracking. So more oil they can get from other countries is better for their environment. So Guyana is perfect for the USA in so many ways. They want us, they need us. Guyana remaining a democracy and no extension of a territory to Russia, friendly nation like Venezuela, is not what America wants. They will not allow it. Again, this is my assumption, and I hope I'm right. Assumptions on bilateral agreements of trade and security with Guyana. We must assume that Guyana government, knowing the dispute that they have with Venezuela, had not only signed a bilateral agreement for trade with other nations, but they must have also included those agreements of a security guarantee. We must assume that this has been done and is continuing. With all that being said, what are the objectives of the Maduro government? Does the Maduro government really want to invade it and take Essequibo? Let's go back to the saying, don't throw rocks when you live in a glass house. To answer the question, it's my opinion that the Maduro government has too much to lose to invade Guyana. I do not believe that Venezuela has any intention to use military force. It's a provocation for gains. Here is what is at risk for the Maduro government. They do not have the resources to maintain such a military undertaking. Yes, they have a big enough of an army, but Essequibo is big. Essequibo is, you need to go and look on the map and see some of y'all and look at what the Essequibo is. The Essequibo is big and long. They will not be able to take hold of the territory. In an invasion, to gain territory will not change their current economic situation or make it any better for their living standards. It wouldn't. As a matter of fact, they will need a supply chain to get things to their soldiers in the Essequibo. They don't even, it's tough for them right now. How do they supply a supply chain there in the Essequibo? Exxon will stop the drilling, and the newfound wealth of the Essequibo will mean nothing because they gone. Since they're considered a state sponsor of terrorism, they can 100% expect that the USA and the international community will join Guyana in defending Guyana. America will not want a friend of Russia to have more territory and to be close to them. A military cooperation with the international community will see a complete invasion of Venezuela to take Caracas and replace Maduro in whatever way they want to. This is the biggest risk to Maduro and his government. Will Russia help Venezuela? Well, here is where it gets a bit interesting. And before we go there, let's take a look at what's going on. Venezuela has troops built up at the Essequibo border with Guyana. They're holding a referendum on the 3rd of December. The question you need to ask yourself is, why did they not do it the other way around, which would seem the most logical thing to do? First, hold a referendum, get the support of their people, then build up troops on the border to demand Essequibo be given back to Venezuela, or they will take it by military action. And just to let you know, just to let you all know, yes, the US military is in the area. And I will tell you why. The US military is having a training exercise with Brazil close to the Venezuela border. And let me quote for you some information that I think you will find very interesting. As I said, I've made a lot of notes, so please forgive me while I go through and find my notes, but it is necessary that I do this. I'm reading from a magazine called the Dialogo Americas. And let me tell you what the Dialogo Americas is, because in their editorial guidelines, this is what this says. Dialogo is a professional digital military magazine published by the US Southern Command. The website is published in 4 languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Haitian Creolese. Topics of interest for the Dialogo. Topic of interest for the Dialogo include the illicit trafficking of drugs, arms, and persons, terrorism, special operations, regional cooperation, humanitarian assistance, human rights, gangs, and other topics related to the regional and international security. The Dialogo is your military forum, and they go on to say who they are. You can go check that website, Dialogo Americas. Now, I want to read to you an article that was published in the Dialogo magazine on November 1st, 2023. And it says, in the headline, it says, Southern Vanguard 24, advancing Brazil-US partnership and increasing interoperability. And I read the article. I'm going to read a part of the article. It was an interview done with someone, and I'll tell you who the guy is. So the article starts by saying, in the Amazon Delta, Brazilian soldiers are training at the operational and tactical levels to increase interoperability alongside US Army and US New York Army soldiers. They are taking part in the Southern 24, an annual US Southern Command Southcom exercise, which is taking place from November 1 to 12 in Belém, Macapá, and Oiapoque. Now, if you go on the Brazilian map and you look at these places that I just mentioned, Oiapoque is right on close to the Atlantic, on the border of French Guyana. And the other 2 places, which is Belém and Macapá, they're in very close proximity also. Very close to the Atlantic, not far from French Guyana. That is important to note. What is so the Dialogo asked someone, this was the Brazilian Army General Luciano Guilherme Cabral Pinheiro. He's the commander of the Northern Military Command. And the Dialago asked him, what is the main objective of the exercise Vanguard 24? And the Brazilian General Guilherme, he says, the main objective of the exercise 423, Southern Vanguard 24, is to increase interoperability with the United States Army and forces from NATO member countries. Dialago asked, what is the importance of the bilateral military exercise between Brazil and the United States? Guilherme says, it increases the relationship with the United States Army and ensures that Brazilian Army is trained to participate in international operations in accordance with national interests and international commitments made by Brazil. Dialago asked, how does Southern Vanguard increase interoperability levels? And Guilherme says, the exercise increases interoperability by promoting the exchange of combat training and certification experiences with the US Army. It also provides an understanding of the different working standards used by NATO. And I'm not going to go on, but there's a lot more to do there. But the reason I'm saying this is that to say that there are some military forces training in Brazil. Now, before I got hand of all of this, and I too was a bit worried, I whispered to one of my guys in the US, should I be worried? And someone mentioned to him, a source mentioned to him, you should be calm. Our boys are there already. We're in Brazil, and I said, Now, they went there for a training exercise. Remember that. They're in Brazil for a training exercise. But the fact that their presence is here should say something, and I'm going to go on with what else, with other things that I say. If you study the actions of governments, you will know that this military training exercise is also an excuse to send troops in close proximity of a possible conflict area to send a message. This, it happens all the time. You must take a look at certain actions that are taken that may not seem to mean anything, but it's meant to send a message. Now, someone that I have a lot of respect for is the president of the Corporate Republic of Ghana, President Irfan Ali. And on October 27th, the president addressed his people in the disputed area of the Essequibo. And when he addresses people in a very powerful way. A lot of people may not have seen it, but it takes gusto, it takes courage, and it takes confidence to don yourself in BDU and address your people. The president stood and spoke, and he made mention in his speech that every inch of Essequibo belongs to us. He stands there in BDU and he says that. That is a man that knows what he's saying. When you wear the BDU, you're sending a message that I know what I know what I have. Okay? I'm confident. I'm strong. I know what I'm doing. As I said, I am not here representing anybody, any government or institution. But I'm giving my personal analysis of the situation. And I have done a lot of investigations and looked at situations to really understand what is it that we have at hand. So when he that sent a clear message just in BDU, it sent a clear message to the government of Venezuela. Yes, we are ready to defend Guyana by military force. So when the president speaks at this press conference and he says, he gives you the assurance you should be worried. Well, in my humble opinion, but strong opinion, I think these are the things that lies in the background of why he's so confident. Now, you may say that Guyana does not have the military force to defend, but what the president knows, we don't know. Meaning, he must have gotten assurances from somewhere that they are ready to assist Guyana in the defense of its territory. And he has said that in his press conference, that at the various levels that he has spoken to people. He has had very assuring, let me be careful. He has been assured in many ways that yes, we are with you. So now let me share with you what I think. I think the Guyana-Venezuela conflict has is a much bigger picture. It's the forefront of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Yes, this is bigger than you know. Yes, little Guyana can be the solution to solving Russia and Ukraine conflict, and it's one with Venezuela. You see, the same thing that the USA wants is the same thing that Russia wants. Russia is in conflict with Ukraine because it does not want NATO as at its front door, and Russia wants Ukraine to remain neutral, but not a member of NATO. And Russia will not give up until they take Ukraine or part of Ukraine, or Ukraine remains neutral. Yes, Russia do not want to have to defend such a big border in Ukraine if Ukraine becomes a NATO nation. So what does this have to do with Guyana? The whole conflict with Venezuela and Guyana, in my opinion, is a chess game and a solution for the Maduro government being able to have a seat at the table, the bargaining table, and the possible solution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict also. Venezuela will threaten military action against Guyana so that the USA and the international community will give Venezuela a seat at the bargaining table. Or where they will avoid another conflict in the world. The USA and the international community, I believe, will loosen oil boycott against Venezuela, and at the same time make an agreement with Venezuela that Venezuela will give up its claim against the Essequibo in exchange for dropping of trade restrictions and oil boycotts. Then Maduro stays in government and will not proceed with tighter ties with Russia. And look, Russia will turn to avoid another conflict where they can be directly involved and in supporting Venezuela in an escalating conflict. They already have it bad. Now, as I said, this is an analysis, but at the end of it, you tell me if it really does make any sense. They will want concessions for its war in Ukraine, where Russia will be able to keep the territory it's already gained, or return territory to Ukraine for the guarantee that Ukraine will not become a NATO member and will remain neutral. With all that being said, yes, every time there is a threat of military force, we must all do work. But I think, and I hope for all of us, that there will not be any military actions against Guyana. I believe that the Maduro government has too much to lose. Their existence is more at risk than Guyana losing its people. And their Exxon means too much for the USA. And you can only get nervous if you see Exxon pulling out its people and packing up and leaving in Guyana. No investor will have such a large chunk of their entire market cap and value in a place that is destined for conflict. As I mentioned to you, Exxon's stocks were trading at $32 plus in October of 2020. Today, Exxon is trading at $104. That shows that the interest in the market is a confident one, that yes, they will continue. I want to add also to that to say that on the 25th of October, an article was published and said that Berkshire Hathaway, a conglomerate owned by 123 million Chevron shares as of June 30, giving it a 6.3 stake in the energy giant. This company was reported that Warren Buffett, the sixth richest man in the world, the article says, and I'm reading from Oil Now, Market Insider reports that Warren Buffett, the sixth richest man in the world, is set to gain indirect exposure to Guyana, the world's fastest growing economy and an emerging oil superpower, by way of Chevron's acquisition of Hess Corporation announced this week. So Chevron has put so much money into Guyana that, and this was at the end of October, this was reported, at the cost, at the tune of $53 billion US. Now, if a company is going to invest in a place, there's so many background checks and analysis and stuff that I don't even know will have to go on for such a massive investment. Then you have these two people, Warren Buffett and Exxon, showing their support behind a country like Guyana. Do you really think that they will let someone just come take it? But as long as they continue with business as usual, you have nothing to worry about. Just like Venezuela has troop buildup at the Essequibo border, the US military is doing some same exercise by joint training exercises I just mentioned, sending a strong message that they are ready to defend Guyana. That's what that. You tell me what else, if not so. Also, you must assume that the government of Guyana is not only signing trade agreements, but they are also signing with other nations security guarantees for Guyana with them. For Russia, they will play their cards right and get what they want. The public will know. The public will know this, because all of this will be done in the background and to protect the faces of all nations. So let's hope I'm right. And let's forget about me. Let's hope that there can be and will be negotiated peace solutions to this conflict. My analysis today was to go in depth about the objectives of the Maduro government, understanding their motive, what their motives are. And I simply believe that Venezuela does not execute. I believe that they are using Essequibo as a bargaining chip to be able to sit at the table and be able to negotiate for the loosening of the oil boycott. Let's be honest. This controversy over Essequibo will go on forever. So Venezuela will never, and Venezuela will never get it. So why not make a deal with something you're really not going to get, so you survive? Bargaining chip. And Russia, they will not be able to negotiate a resolution to the Ukraine conflict in a back room quietly to the public. Now, I may be wrong, but it's not about me being right. It's about the peaceful resolution for the Guyanese people. And this is more important than my analysis. I hope I have taken your mind deeper and hope I have enlightened and you're concerned by looking at this conflict from a different perspective. Also, The Essequibo is home to vast, vast, vast thousands of square kilometers of rainforest, pristine rainforest. The European countries, they need us to keep that intact. They will not allow that to be destroyed. And I don't know how many of you have gone to the jungles of the Essequibo or elsewhere in Guyana. It's unforgiving. An army coming through there to get to the other side, it won't be easy. It won't be easy. So understand where we are also as a people. Now, some things for you to consider. And before I go there, you know, the reason why the Amazon rainforest that we have as part of it in Guyana here, you know why it's very important to everyone in the world? We supply oxygen to many parts of the world. Yes, this country supplies oxygen. Because those trees, all those trees you see outside that you have, they supply oxygen to this world. So know how important we are, not just because of economic interest, but globally, what we're doing for the world too, and how needed we are in what we have in our resources. So here are some things for you to consider. Brazil is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and they need USA and Guyana. As I said, the rainforest is a gem. And many, many nations in this world, especially European community, that are environmentally oriented, understands the importance of the rainforest. The last thing they want to see is its destruction. Rest assured, your government is doing everything to bring a peaceful solution to this conflict. And at the same time, is doing everything to guarantee that there will be no military actions in Guyana. Instead, I don't speak for the government. But the posture and what the government is saying says this. And I'm not echoing them, but I'm saying that I believe that the president and the government knows what they're saying. And in the event that the military force that the military force is used or will be used, it will be met with harsh and swift response that will forever disrupt any claims of the Essequibo region by Venezuela now and in the future. But not only that, they're going to suffer. Sometimes a government of a small nation, as the government of a small nation, you walk a very fine line in reassuring your people because many things cannot be said. But I believe that they will do everything in their power to bring peace to the people of Guyana. And not just peace, but security. And it is at this point that I want to urge every Guyanese something. So in my analysis, I think we don't have anything to be worried about. I think the president's reassuring words is good enough. But I hope that giving you my perspective and my analysis would sort of answer any of your questions that you may have had lingering. What I want to say is that the unity shown by the government of Guyana and the opposition in coming together in the defense of our nation must be an example to all Guyanese. That in unity, we are strong. Yes, elections comes and elections goes, and yes, we must have a difference in opinion. That's the beauty of a democracy. But right after elections, the people must we must always unite again to promote a better path for our nation. By coming together, we can bring those that we have elected to promote actions that we as a people see will make the nation a better place. We cannot do this divided. Look around the world. See what best way of practice is involved in a democracy. Democracy is not just voting, but coming together to get our government to do the best for all the people. Look at how they have worked together. Look at what is possible if we put our heads together. Look at what is possible if we put our shoulders to the wheel together. We as a nation, we need to work to where this country can be. I have been selling the dream through a company that I work with called Aeon Imagery. I'm their senior representative here in Guyana. And I have been selling the dream that Guyana can be the next Dubai. And why do I believe this? I believe that Guyana can be the next Dubai because we are perfectly positioned in many ways. We're perfectly positioned territorially, geographically. We're perfectly positioned geopolitically, economically, and all these things. We are right where we need to be. And we as a people, if we change our thinking and we change the way and we change our mindset, then I believe that we can all work together to make this land a beautiful place. I hope for the best for all of us, Guyanese people, and for Guyana. I want to say long live my beautiful Guyana. Long live our beautiful Guyana. Long live our Essequibo, the place where I was born. I want to thank you for sharing this moment with me. And in closing, I would like to quote what President Ali said when he was in Essequibo. And he asked people, I'm not going to quote the president, but I'll say what he said. He said, too many people are spreading false rumors out there, fear mongering. Too many people are saying this and they're saying that about what they think the situation is. The president urged people then to get information from the right source, from the government, because he knows what he's saying. You know, the president knows what he's saying. And I would like to urge you to add to that list of credible information, Guyana Television Network and Guybai TV. I thank you so much for joining me. And I hope that as a people, we can come together as one, put our backs to the wheel, put our fears aside, work with these people, work with the government and the opposition as they are together on this in this process. And let's make Guyana the next greatest place on the planet. Let's make Guyana, what I call it, Guybai. A wonderful afternoon, everyone.